Matt Stone and Trey Parker are here. They are the creators of the hit animated television series South Park, set in their home state of Colorado. This year, for the first time, South Park won an Emmy for an episode called Best Friends Forever. Here is a look at part of that program. I'm pleased to have the two creators at this table for the very first time. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, tell me what it is that, tell me what that represents.
Mostly just a good frickin' Jew joke. Yeah. We're really proud of that part of that show.
Did somebody once say to you, there's nothing off base, but you can make no jokes about the Nation of Islam?
They told us
They tried to say that, and then we did it. So, yeah.
They told us we couldn't do an entire show about it, but I think they were just concerned about our safety.
Yeah.
So, yeah, someday we'll do it, though. I don't know.
Yeah. But nothing else is out of bounds.
No, and like that episode was the one, it was basically obviously in reference to Terry Schiavo, and it came out the week that was hitting this like huge national furor. But I think that like that episode was one of our better ones because we always seem to do topical stuff best when we, in other words, like when we do it with our oown characters. Like that episode never mentioned the word Terry Schiavo. And if you'd never heard about that whole uproar or didn't, it didn't matter. You'd still get it. It still was a regular, it was a story about a boy who was being kept alive on a
How did
feeding
this thing come into being?
Well, it's actually pretty amazing because the way we've always done the show, but now after doing it for 9 years, we've got it down to the art form of, the show airs on Wednesday. The Thursday before that, Matt and I go to work early in the morning with the writers, and we go, okay, what do we do this week? I mean, it's a weekly. It's just like Saturday Night Live, basically. Like we don't know what we're doing. Start over every week. Don't plan ahead at all. And we all sat down, and I remember it was when her tube had been removed, and everyone was waiting around to see if she was going to die, and I was just like, guys, I've never seen a bigger news story like this is on every channel, and it's just insane, and so it was just early in the morning on Thursday, and we said, how can we do a Terry Schiavo episode? And then the ideas start flying, and by around noon, we start getting ideas, and the way it works is that we come up with a couple funny scenes, we put them into animation right away because we got to get the crew going, and then Friday we work on it some more, we work on it Saturday, and by Sunday, Monday, we're staying up all night, and we just about kill ourselves week after week.
Now, do you two do the same thing, or do you divide up responsibilities some way?
Well, I mean, it changes week to week, but it's pretty much, we have it pretty much down. I mean, we're both in the writer's room. Right. We come up with the ideas. We both do voices. Trey directs and pretty much edits every episode. I mean, it's very concentrated in around the two of us, so it's like we can do a very tight production.
Yeah.
But,
and everything is in one building, so it's great because on a Tuesday night, say, even before the show, we always deliver the show Wednesday morning, and that it's going to air. And on Tuesday night, we're always there at 3 in the morning going, oh, how can we change the end, rewrite it, animate it, run in, do the voices, put it in, and the whole process.
Yeah, we do the voices out of necessity, not because we think we're great voiceover artists.
It's only because we can't
I think it's pretty obvious that all the voices start to sound the same after a while.
What was the operative idea, though? Was it there's no cartoon out there that's edgy enough, that really is satirical enough, that really hits it on the head?
Originally, we didn't have that. I mean, that's way too. I mean, originally we were just two guys from Colorado who didn't realize you're not supposed to say these words on television. We just thought that was funny, and we
were fans of Beavis and Butthead and The Simpsons, and we just thought we just really loved that, and we were huge fans of Terry Gilliam, from Monty Python, and that animation where it's just so base, and like that was really, I think, a lot of people when they start out, we weren't thinking about it too much. We were just thinking, how can we go to Hollywood and make a lot of money?
And then it happened.
Yeah, and then it worked. So,
so what are you doing with all the money?
Oh, lots of things, boy. It's a pretty good time. I'll tell you that.
It's one big party.
Yeah, well, it was.
It's how we slowed down.
Yeah, we're slowing down.
Now we're old now.
I mean, but like there's only so many times you can do certain things.
That's true.
Exactly, and it's like it's a curse and a blessing because now we won an Emmy. Yeah. Now we're on Charlie Rose. Yeah. It is like, how do you stay punk rock? How do you stay edgy? How do you how are you the guys giving the middle finger to the world?
We like edgy here.
Yeah. I mean, Charlie Rose is a super edgy show. Don't get me wrong, but it's like it is a constant battle. We're not the only ones who fight. Like a lot of artists fight.
We have the finance minister of India here. That's edgy.
That's punk rock. That's definitely punk rock.
It's totally punk rock. So it's something that I'd rather have the money than not, and the success than not. But it does create a mental kind of game where you have to convince yourself constantly that we're at the bottom, we're still hungry, we still want to, make people mad.
But I mean, people always talk about burnout. I mean, I don't see that. I mean, if you love what you're doing, I don't see where burnout plays a role. What does play a role is what, for example, John Cheese once said to me about Faulty Towers.
Right.
He said, we just had no more ideas.
Right.
We found ourselves duplicating ourselves, and that's when we stopped.
Yeah. I think and that's always the fear, you know, and actually we've started the last 3 seasons. At the beginning of the season, every time I've been like, oh man, because we sat there in the writer's room trying to come up with stuff and we're out. And I was like, we're out. We're completely out. And then as the season would go, you know, we're like, okay, this Terry Schiavo thing, what could we do about that? And end up with a great show, you know, and then the next week, you know, it just sort of keeps ramping up. And we just kept feeling like the seasons were actually getting better. And as long as that was happening, it's not fun to do. And you know what? South Park was never fun to do. It's hard work, you know, and what
it's
you know,
not fun to do.
It's really not fun to do. But what the kids always want to hear, you know, we go on MTV and the kids always want to hear is, yeah, you know, we just get drunk and we get high and we party and we come up with stuff, you know, and it's like that's not
No.
true. We get up really
got
early,
high, and if we got drunk, there would be
get
no
any,
show on
right,
Thursday
exactly.
night.
There'd be nothing on. But we go, we get a coffee, we show up to work early and we work super hard and almost kill ourselves almost every season to try to get it on the air.
It reminds me of, I think Jack Welch tells this story in his book. They were offering Jerry Seinfeld $100 million to go one more year.
Right.
And Seinfeld said, I can't do it. He said, I sat last Christmas Eve in my apartment trying to write a script.
Right.
And I'm saying, you know, I don't want to do this one more Christmas.
Right. And I think that time may come, but it hasn't yet, thank God. So
What is it you think resonates? Is it the edginess? What is it that you think has made a connection with people?
God, I wish I knew. I don't know. I
don't want to intellectualize it either, but I mean.
Well, I mean, I think part of it, it's not just South Park, but there's a few other shows, and we were lucky enough with South Park to hit a level of success early on where we have total control over the show.
Now, you mean things like Daily Show or?
I think it's Daily
Dave
Show.
Chappelle.
Daily Show's a little bit different. Dave Chappelle's a good example. I think there's other shows that are, and most of them are smaller, kind of more marginal shows that aren't done by committee. I mean, most shows in Hollywood are done by committee,
especially comedy.
Especially comedy. And they're like, it's like a bunch of, you know, it's usually a bunch of people.
And especially movies.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, movies, and they have like 30 writers on the movie, and they focus group it. And it's like, for better or worse, Trey and I have always been like, this is our show, and everything on the show is basically what we want to say. No one tells us, you know, what. And a show by committee might be a better show, but this is ours, and I think there's something
nothing
authentic about it, you know. So
I mean, it's one thing to have teamwork, and teams can do great things.
Right, we have tons of people working for us that add a lot to the show.
Teamwork is great,
absolutely.
But you know,
but at the end of the day, it's sort of got to be a voice, you know. And that's why we've always fancied ourselves more as a band, just because that's a way cooler thing to be
than geeky animators.
So we've always, but it really kind of is because every season comes around, it's kind of like an album, and every episode in that album is a song, and it's like it's fun because since we wrote every episode ourselves and we never got writers and put it out to them, we're able to look back now and go, wow, that's where we were in our lives at that point, and that's where we were in our lives at that point, and see how we've changed.
The Simpsons has probably been through 4, 5, 6
1,000 writers.
1,000 writers. And writing teams and voices. And although there is a few guys who stick around and are at the top, it is the people working on the show today are not the same people who were working on the show 5, 6 years ago. And you know, for a show like that, it has to be that way for us.
Should I feel good that I've been both a character on The Simpsons and a character on South Park?
Yes, absolutely. I think you should be super flattered.
Makes you super cool.
Now, did you once say that you would never go out of ideas because Cartman would need 20 years to explain?
That's a good one. I remember saying that, but it does make sense. It does make sense.
Yeah. I didn't say it, but you'd be proud to say it.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because it's great. We're lucky enough that we've created a show where it's not about a family or a kid. It's about a town.
Right.
You know, and in any given episode, we can focus on the teacher, or we can just focus on Cartman. We can just focus on the mailman. We can just focus on whatever we want. And so it really does lend itself very well to say, you know, we can sit down in the writer's room and go, what's going on in the world? Yeah. How do we have that happen in South Park? You know, because to some degree, I think there's a pressure value. You know, people, it was really cool to be able to do that Terry Schiavo episode, you know, for it to come on the air when it did, when it was happening. And here's an animated version of that. But the hard part that really goes into that is at the end of the day, we do have to come up with what's our take on all this. What's our philosophy on this that's not just what everyone else is talking about.
What's our point of view?
Yeah, what's our point of view? And, you know, our thought in that episode was, well, maybe she really wishes that all these people in the country weren't showing her image like this, you know, and that sort of became the whole
Now, when you won the Emmy, that was a big thing for you?
No,
or not so much?
Football was on, so I didn't go.
I just say that. I wish. It sounds so late. It sounds so
You didn't care, huh?
ungrateful.
Didn't care.
Well, we've been nominated 5 times.
Who did you have pick it up for you?
Our producers.
Our producers.
We're very happy for. We're very happy.
We're very happy for them. But you know, Trey and I get tons of accolades for the show, and we've been on. I think we've been nominated 5 times.
Yeah.
And
we always lose at the same.
We just always have lost. We
we should. Simpsons is a great show, but it's like. But what's funny too is that we're put on what they call the crap night of the Emmys, which is really funny because people don't realize. Yeah, a week before the Emmys, there's another Emmys for all the shows that it's just like a lot of technical things. Yeah, makeup. And for some reason, Best Animated Series is in that night, which is so ridiculous because The Simpsons is probably the biggest show in American history ever, and it's not on. It's on the crap night. Yeah.
Well, I think we ought to be able to change that. Don't you?
I think so. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous.
Maybe we should just have a whole night of prime time devoted to animated.
Yeah, I think
you'd
so.
buy that.
Yeah.
Now, here's what Tony Scott said. Tony writes for the New York Times, reviews movies. He said, "I know I'm not alone in confessing that my moral." I worry about this now. I worry that he says, I know I'm not alone in confessing that my moral and ideological guides for the past half-dozen years have included 4 foul-mouthed Colorado youngsters made out of torn construction paper. Without South Park, I would scarcely know what to think about issues like stem cell research, the Passion of the Christ, and the Pokemon craze. Right. Now, you are educating America.
Yes, we're trying to stay ahead of the New York Times.
It's really what we've always said, and I think what we say with the show is not anything new, but I think it is something that is great to put out there, which is, the people screaming on this side and the people screaming on that side are the same people. And it's okay to be someone in the middle laughing at both of them.
Yes. So they'll get their education from you and their news from Jon Stewart.
Right. And they'll be all in all, at the end of the day, they'll be a little more Zen Buddhist. That's all right.
But we can't compete with we can't compete with the Jon Stewarts or the Jay. I mean, that's a different. The Jay Leno's, the Bill Maher's.
Mass media.
That's a different. Even though it's political and it deals with current events, it's just different. It's just a daily thing. And in the end of the day, those guys all have. You know where they're coming from. Right. And what we try to do on the show, what's important for like a narrative show where you're trying to tell stories, is we always try to make it feel like, where are those guys coming from? You know what I mean? And a lot of times we'll do shows with moral kind of points of view that we don't necessarily agree with.
It just makes a better story.
It just makes a better story.
The story's got to take precedent.
That's right. It's what'll play.
Right, exactly. I mean, we got to make stories, We can't just make jokes. We got to make stories.
Right.
Do you think you have raised the bar in terms of what is acceptable?
For sure. I mean, it's interesting because we just I think we've lowered the bar.
We did something to the bar, but
it's really funny because it's been an interesting week for us because this week the South Park has gone out on syndication, which was a huge deal for us, obviously. But it's amazing because they're like, well, okay, now it's going out on all these other channels. Let's look at how much they have to cut out. And to watch the first season, they don't cut anything out, and it's on all these, and it's like they don't have to cut out anything. And when we came out, people were like, "Oh my God, this is the end of the world!
Don't let your kids watch the show. It's the end." We got one review that was the end of democracy.
Is that right?
Yeah, this was 1998. Yeah, so the arrow is definitely going in the direction of us. We're definitely from the future.
You were a threat to democracy.
We threatened it, and here we go. Here we are.
We built in 1776. You're going to tumble down.
So we'd like to officially
teenagers from Colorado.
I'd like to officially apologize for ending democracy.
That was our fault. Everyone's blaming George Bush.
George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and John Adams and all of those.
It was us.
Yeah, we blew it. It was going great for a while, but we blew it.
If you only do it week to week, I mean, do you have any idea where it might be, a year from now?
No, and that's the fun thing. I mean, that's why we have our first new episode airs on October 19th.
Right.
And as of right now, we have no idea even what that episode will be about. We haven't started it. We're not going to start it.
You're not going to start it until the week before?
We'll start it the week before. Because every time we try to start way before, I can't write, and we get too, thinking too much about it. And we realize, too, that's something that happens is we get too much into what's our point, what are we trying to say? And then we realize, wait, that's not our job. Our job is to make people laugh. And if it says something in the background, great. But it's not our job to go out and go.
Right now, we're in an interesting dilemma because we have this reputation for attacking or talking about current events.
Right.
And we've both gotten dozens of emails about, can't wait to see what you guys do about Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah.
And we're in this dilemma because we think that would be we could make a great episode where a flood comes to South Park or, some kind of natural disaster. But being the expectation that we're going to do it puts us in a weird position.
I just want to do something else.
I don't know if we're going to do it. I don't know if we're going to do it. Like we want to mess with the expectation. And like we always loved that we're both big Monty Python fans and watched it on PBS, at 10:30 at night
Thursdays.
in Colorado growing up on Channel 6. What I loved about Monty Python was every time you tuned in, you no idea where you were going.
Yeah.
And TV today is like, well, are you going to watch tonight? They're going to do this, and that's the way it's promoted. And we've always been like, we always like the South Park episodes where it starts here and then, you have no idea where you ended up. So we're in this weird kind of dilemma about Hurricane Katrina. We don't know what to do.
Have you been that way before at all?
No,
is this the
because
first time
we've
it's
always
ever happened? I mean,
yeah, because it's never been expected. Now it's the
if you could deal with Terry Schiavo, you can deal with.
Oh, we could do it. It's just that people are expecting it.
It's just a different
whatever they're
thing.
expecting, you may not be able to reach it because they have such pronounced ideas.
And whatever
want
they're
you to do.
expecting, we don't want to give them because as soon as you give people what they're expecting, I just think then we're a sitcom.
People were blown away that we did a Terry Schiavo
don't
show.
wanna
They
be that,
didn't.
do we?
No.
Yeah, then we didn't want to do that. But like the fact that everyone's like, I can't wait. They're going to tune in and see what they do about Hurricane Katrina. It's just a different. I don't know. It's a different way.
Monty Python was both heroic for both of you.
Huge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is the beginning and end of.
Have you seen Spamalot on Broadway? Are you going to?
We haven't. I think we're going to go. Maybe.
I'm a little nervous too.
Yeah.
Well,
because I'm such a huge fan that I'm
you may not want to go.
Yeah,
you may not want to go.
A little worried.
You know,
it's kind of like someone.
You know, it's
messing
going
with
to
your-
Las Vegas.
Yeah, I know. I don't know.
Well, it's you've got to remember Eric created it, so therefore,
Absolutely.
and so the same writing sentiment.
Yes.
is there. Politics. Are you a libertarian?
That's a great question.
What does that mean?
I think that there is a.
He believes in liberty.
Yeah, I believe in liberty.
What is? Are you?
It's possible.
You're not going to put you in jail for this.
Yeah.
It's possible. Maybe.
Yeah, no. We did a South Park
Why
episode.
is he embarrassed by this?
I'm not embarrassed at all. It's just actually it's a difficult question because
Why is it difficult?
Because it's
It's like saying, are you?
It's like, are you gay? It's like a little. On a Friday night, maybe. There's no chick around, sure.
Imagine on Friday.
You know, Charlie.
You know, Charlie. You know how it is.
Friday night. You're a little.
Friday night, what the hell?
Nothing's on TV. I don't know.
It's a really fascinating thing. We've always talked about how we grew up sort of. I think we were both Python fans, and we were both sort of punk rockers.
Right.
And we wanted to do a punk rock TV show. And when we were growing up, the way to be punk rock was to be really liberal, because we grew up with Reagan in high school and all of that, and then, but then we moved. The problem was we moved to L.A. and we did, and then the only way to be punk rock in L.A. is to be a Republican because it's the only way. You're in a party. The only way is to be like, I think George Bush is awesome. Everyone's like, what? Just like, and that really, I mean, it's amazing. And when we did Team America,
I've seen Trey do that before too.
Yeah.
You may go into a party and say,
Just said it.
I think he's great.
That was in Malibu, and he just said, "I love George Bush and I love my gun." And this lady's face just melted. Her
face melted off.
It is like we got this reputation. There was this book that came out called South Park Conservatives,
right?
Where and it was a label I think originally given by Andrew Sullivan. To the show, and I think there is a little bit of like libertarianism.
Is he your number one fan? There's some great quote about it.
Yeah, he's a big fan, and like he's written some really cool stuff about the show and Team America, the movie. But I think that some of we did grow up in Colorado, which is kind of a Republican state, but it's more of a libertarian kind of like live and let live kind of attitude.
Yeah,
and I'm sure some of that seeps through in the work. But I mean, we've taken so many different conservative ideals to task too, but we have just ripped on a couple of liberal ones. Like Barbara Streisand and Rob Reiner, and all of a sudden, like we're conservatives, and it's like to live in L.A., to live in California, those are the sacred cows. I mean, literally and figuratively. Rob Reiner, that was a bad joke.
Oh, it was.
That was a terrible joke. But I mean, it is true. Like Trey said, it's like if we sit around in our writers' room and we all sit around and go, and what I think of our best stuff comes out is we try to personify this side of the argument and this side, and then we take a little funny way out.
Right.
And I'm just not interested in, Trey can vouch for this, I'm not interested in sitting around and agreeing with people. Right. And where we live is like the liberal part of the world. And not because
there's a group think.
There's a group think, and you only get to some new truth by argument and by dissent. And it's like some of it is just, we just play devil's advocate all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
Here's what else you said. I am just sick of actors on CNN parroting what they read in the paper. I keep expecting Larry King to say, and now for a word on Iraq, the Cookie Monster.
Yes. It really, well, I mean, and that's when we were writing Team America. And, you know, we were
Team America?
Team America is a movie we made last year that was all done with marionettes, and it was basically about a world police force, international world police force that obviously parodied everything that's been going on. And it was so fascinating because we, you know, the whole movie starts where the international police force shows up in Paris and just blows away all of Paris in order to get one terrorist. You know what I mean? And it's basically like, and it was a condemnation of that. But on the other hand, in the middle, it sort of took a turn and started ripping on the liberal, you know, on the actors that, for us, we live in LA, we know a lot of actors, they're not smart people, right? I mean, and just like we shouldn't be on any TV show discussing what world policy should be, you know.
I was going to ask you to stay to the next segment. We're going to talk about
right.
Iraq. And
but yeah, you know, believe me, you don't want to hear our opinion. It's not any good.
All right, roll tape. Here's a clip from the 2004 movie Team America. Here it is. Did you go to school in Columbine?
Did I go to school? Yeah. Did you go to school?
You have an education.
What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you? How did you make stuff like this?
Did you go to school?
Did you go to? I mean, did you go to school in Columbine or?
No, I went to. I grew up in Littleton, Colorado, where Columbine High School is. I went to a different high school. Littleton's not a little town. It's
Do you know Michael Moore?
I did. I know him a little bit. I talked to him on the phone a couple times, met him a couple times, and then did the interview in Bowling for Columbine.
And what did you make him? A suicide what in the movie?
He was basically a piece of ham. he blows himself up. He blows up the Mount Rushmore, and then we had his whole puppet filled with ham. And we had this great scene that had to get cut later, but they were like, "My God, Michael Moore was made of ham."
So the whole scene didn't make the movie?
No, the scene where he blows himself up did, but just the part where we, you know, said that he's made of ham. Yeah.
Now, how did he like it? Did he?
We hope not.
I don't know.
We hope not. Don't you? That's the point. Isn't it?
I mean, no, it was really, that was a personal thing for me anyway, because he actually called us when he was making the Bowling for Columbine movie, and he said, I'm making this movie about gun control. Will you make an animated thing for it? And we said, oh, no, sorry, we're busy. I have a gun, actually, you know, so I'm not really interested. But then he said to Matt, he said, well, you know, we're going to interview, we just want to interview about Littleton, ask you about Littleton. And that seemed like a, you know, fine thing. So Matt went and did an interview about Littleton.
And that's all he talked about, Littleton.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of stuff. And I said that he interviewed me and he didn't misrepresent me in the movie at all. I mean, I think it's not like I'm mad about my interview or anything.
Right.
He didn't mischaracterize me. But he did do an animation that was surprisingly South Park-like. He had somebody else do an animation. And most people that
so he ripped off South Park.
Well, and what happened was it actually ripped off a film I made when I was in college that was South Park looking.
It's called American History.
It was called, my movie was called American History, and this thing ripped that off, and they put it right after Matt's interview to make it look like we did it. Oh. So then everyone started coming up and going, hey, man, love that thing about, you know, glad you hate guns, too. And I'm like, I don't hate guns, you know, and it's like, hey, man, the cool thing you did. And I was just like, and then when people came out and started saying, well, you know, Michael Moore, he's a manipulator and he changes things to make things look some way. I'm like, yeah, I was a personal victim of that. It's totally true. So I made him a fat piece of ham in my movie and I blew him up. Yeah. I'm done. I'm fine. I feel fine now.
It's just a puppet movie.
You got it on your chest.
Yeah,
everything's okay.
We're cool.
You know, and it proves a maxim: don't screw around with anybody that has a cartoon.
Yeah, that's right. We'll make you into ham and blow you up.
Make you into a puppet and blow you up.
Congratulations. Great to have you here.
Thank you very much. It was fun. It's a great time.
South Park. What else should I say about it? That's it.
Yeah,
huh?
that's great.
That does it.
Yeah, that's perfect.
All right. Good.
Thank you very much.
I'm fine.
Thank you. Matt Stone and Trey Parker are here in 1997. They created the television and praise for taking on comedic targets ranging from Scientology to Paris Hilton. Now Stone and Parker have written and directed their first Broadway musical. It is called The Book of Mormon. They call it their atheist love letter to religion. I am pleased to have both of them back at this table. Welcome.
Thanks for having us again.
Good to be back.
It's my pleasure. March 24th, it sort of officially
Yeah, it's crazy because we've been working on it for 7 years and we don't work that long on anything. So this is it's crazy to work that long on something and then suddenly it's
time.
It's done.
It's ripe.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's ripe as it's gonna get.
It's ripe.
It's ripe, isn't it?
It's ripe.
What do we mean by ripe?
I mean, we're ready to. It's a full term thing.
It's come to.
Yeah.
It's been 9 months or 9 years.
Yeah. It feels like about a year and a half ago, we'd been working on it as our other project for a long time.
Yeah.
And we finally, about a year and a half ago, we were like, well, we just got to do this or not. So it's been a lot of work the last year and a half.
So I know you've told this story before, but tell me where this idea came from.
In 2004, we were doing Team America,
Right.
this marionette puppet movie that we did, and we were in town. We were in New York City, and Scott Rudin told us about this puppet Broadway musical called Avenue Q.
Right.
And we thought, oh no, someone else did marionettes, because we thought marionettes was such an awesome idea. It's like someone's going to steal it, or I don't know what we're thinking. Yeah, so we went and saw Avenue Q, and we both loved it. And we looked in the playbill, and Bobby Lopez, one of the co-writers of it, had thanked us.
We didn't even know who he was or anything.
Yeah.
So we thought it was very weird to find ourselves in the playbill.
Yeah. And why did they thank you?
Well, what was crazy was we kept watching and we really loved the show. And I've wanted to do musicals since I was a kid. So as it was getting done, we were both like, oh, this is the kind of thing we should do something like this. And and Bobby was there that night. So we met him and we're like, oh, nice to meet you. And we're like, we got to ask, why are we in the playbill? And he said, because it was the night that I saw the South Park movie that I said, I want to do something like that. And so it was just this crazy thing. And that night we went out and just started talking about, what interested us. And Mormons came up very quickly, as it always does with us. And he had a big interest in Mormons too. And it just seemed so natural to
So why does Mormons always come up very quickly for you?
It's just, for us, it was simple because growing up in Colorado, we're right next to Utah. We knew a lot of Mormons growing up. We'd heard the stories.
Yeah.
And, it was the same story. You heard about UFOs and cattle mutilations and Mormons, growing up. It's just like growing up in Colorado. And so
you said, let's do a musical about Mormons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you started writing.
Yeah.
So we started writing. One of the first things we did was we went and took a field trip to Salt Lake City.
Yes.
Because we had been there a bunch, but Bobby had never been there.
Yeah.
So we went to Salt Lake City. We did some tour group stuff. We went to
Talked
Temple
to a
Square.
lot of missionaries.
Yeah.
And then we talked.
Missionaries.
Yeah, we talked to a bunch of missionaries.
So this is great. So you'd go to places like a coffee shop, and you'd say to them, "Any missionaries here?" And everybody, me.
Oh yeah, no, we'd be at a restaurant and we'd be like, oh, no, we're talking around ideas and we're like, oh, and maybe one of the missionaries, is kind of like hiding out the fact that he's maybe gay inside. And we're talking to the waiters, we're like, do you know anyone who is in a mission who maybe is gay now? And they're like, how many do you want? Just like, next thing we know, we're talking to like 8 different people, who are.
You had a story.
Yeah, we had a story.
Post-collegiate, waiters in Salt Lake City. Most of them had been Mormons.
Yeah.
So you decide to do it not in Salt Lake, but in Uganda?
Well, the first thing we talked about, the first time we met Bobby, the first thing that came out of all of our mouths was Joseph Smith, the musical.
Right.
And following Joseph Smith from upstate New York to Ohio and Illinois, and then eventually he dies there and the Mormons make it to Salt Lake City. And we just started thinking we don't want to do a musical with covered wagons and and that pioneer. We just don't want to do that. We want to do something more contemporary. And somehow we got onto missionaries, because missionaries are how people. That's a lot of people's first experience with Mormons is they come to your door and ring your doorbell. And the missionaries have that job to tell you about Mormonism. So that's how we got on this idea of doing something about missionaries, and then send them to a place on earth that is just the polar opposite of where they grew up, in the suburbs of Salt Lake City.
And that's Uganda.
And for us, it's like we said it in northern Uganda because that's the humanitarian crisis there. But it's supposed to be that place on earth when you read about it, you go, God, those poor people, can they get a break? They have this and this to deal with, and they're poor, and they got famine, and they got war.
Somebody arrives to convert them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was such a natural coming of age story, because once we were reading about how the whole missionary thing works, where, these young kids will be, a lot of them go to the missionary training center in Provo, and they'll spend several months learning the language of where they're going to go, and then they're sent somewhere across the world or somewhere definitely far from home, and then they're paired with someone that's their companion, that's their mate, and it was like such an obvious Broadway love story, here's our couple, and so it just seemed like such a natural coming of age story that would fit so perfectly into a musical.
So why is this an atheist love letter to religion?
Well, Matt says that because I don't really consider myself atheist, but
What do you consider yourself?
I have
A
no
believer.
idea.
Well, let's just say like even like a more specifically a non-Mormon's love letter to Mormonism.
So this
I
is
think
not a process, you know.
Yeah, but it's like and I think that's when we kind of wanted to do something about Mormonism, but make it pro-Mormon.
Yeah.
That's when we knew that this partnership with Bobby would work, because we wanted to do something that was like, I don't know, that makes sense to us. We've never considered ourselves anti-religion or anti-Mormon. Other people do.
Yeah, it's definitely like we were sitting there going, okay, let's rip on Mormons. How should we do it? Let's spend 7 years. Let's start writing some songs. You know, it's really, and it really was for me. I mean, growing up with musicals, I loved the classics. I loved all the Rodgers and Hammerstein stuff, and so it really was. Can we make a really solid traditional musical? And in the same way that they would use a group from Oklahoma, or then now we're talking about Chinese Americans. Now we'll do this. It was like, let's do a really traditional musical, but with Mormons.
And so, was writing the songs the hardest part?
Well, writing the songs was the main part, and that was the big thing. Was for us, we've done a lot of musicals now, actually, and it's always for a real Broadway thing. We said it's got at the heart of it has got to be great songs, and so instead of sitting down, we sat down and started talking about the idea and the plot and all that, and then we just really made an album of songs first,
and then built it around the songs.
And we let the songs dictate where the show should go, because we wanted it. We didn't want to just write something and then go back and fill it.
But did the songs have a beginning, a middle, and an end, or did it?
Yeah, a lot of them are actually real plot songs that take you from here to there in the show, which that's hard to do. But that was the challenge. That's part of what we wanted.
So why did it take so long?
Well, partly it took 7 years, partly because Trey and I have a day job.
Oh, yeah,
so it's South Park that we always have to leave and go
It's
to.
been very good to you, hadn't it?
Yeah, so we're not going to give that up, you know. But we would do a week or two, you know, and then we'd put it down for 4 or 5 months, and then we do a week or two. And also, Bobby lives in New York and we live in LA, so it was just this perfect.
But you maintained continuity with it. In other words, you didn't have to sort of rev up to do it each time you came back.
No, because we kept recording the song, so we'd always have the album was getting bigger, you know, and we could have, let's get together and do another song, you know, let's figure out. And so it was really kind of making the album.
Yeah, a few songs at a time. But I'm glad it gestated that long too. Even though when we weren't working on it, I think we were thinking about it in the back of our minds. I think it's a lot better because.
So are you already thinking about another musical?
Hell no.
No. We're thinking about a beach.
Yeah.
We need a vacation, both of us. Yeah, we need a vacation. So
because it's just hard work, or because you've been doing too many things?
No, I mean it's hard work, but also like this last month of going through previews and putting a thing on Broadway, we've never been through that before, and it's been hard work, but it's also been emotionally intense. Like just being in the room with 1,000 people watching something that you do, even though we do a TV show that 14 times a year on Wednesday night 2 or 3 million people see. It's something different about being in the room and with those people and watching it. You know,
there's something to like
watching them.
Watching them.
Exactly.
There's something to like asking a woman, you know, who's just given birth, like, you want to do it again? You know, it's just like,
give her a few weeks. Come on, give her a few weeks. That's a good point.
Take a look at this. This is a moment from the Oscar-nominated song "Blame Canada." You get nominated for that? Did you?
Trey got nominated
for the song, but we lost to Phil Collins. The song "You'll Be in My Heart."
Beat this.
Beat this.
It is bad.
So here's what we're watching this, and you both are saying that you wouldn't pass muster now. We've gotten so much better.
Yeah, I mean the animation in South Park's gotten so much better.
Now, why is that? Because of the techniques of animation?
A lot of it's the technology has just gotten better. You know, it used to render that in the computer would take a day. You know, and now we could render something like that in about 10 minutes. Yeah.
And we know what we're doing a little bit more now. Then we know how to frame shots, for instance. And you know, do things like that.
But what about the core of it? Is the core of it easier to do?
No.
No. The core
what
of South Park
is the core of it? To tell the story?
The core. The thing is that we still, you know, we still want to do every episode ourselves, and so we haven't, you know, we still do exactly what we did on the show from the beginning, and so. We write and direct, and no, we just can't. And we can't because we start on Thursday, and by Wednesday we've got a finished show to put on the air. And so sometimes that Thursday morning it's like we don't even have an idea, you know. And so you can't really, unless we did all the voices and all the writing, we don't have time to go, hey, you go take a pass at writing this scene and we'll look at it. It's like it's just got to get done right then and there, you know. And so it's this crazy intense going to battle for, you know, 2 months, but then it's done and we've just about killed ourselves. But it's the way we've done it every season, and so we don't want to change it.
Can you guys vacation?
I think I would like to work on that a little harder. Take some better vacations.
Take some better vacations.
From opening night, we get opening night.
What happens on opening night? You go to the big party after.
We don't really know because we've never been to opening night of a Broadway show before, so we're waiting to see what happens. But then we get basically a week, and we've got to be back at South Park for that run. But after that run,
We're getting a nice big vacation. We've been going back and forth between South Park and this for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
We need a break.
Definitely. But is it as exciting today as it was from the very beginning, or less so because you?
Yeah, I mean, at the heart of what some of the stuff, like I guess seeing yourself on TV, it's like now we've done that, or seeing your work on TV, like there is a little bit of, we've been there, done that. But I think the heart of when we get excited about a show still comes down to when we're in the writers' room and we make each other laugh really hard about something, and that kind of is exactly the same as it was when we were 19 or 20 years old, and then you've got something. Yeah. And then
the elation of knowing something works as a joke.
The joke, an idea or a concept,
right.
and that's where we're like, okay, that's great, and that still totally is exciting.
And how about the moment when you went on Jon Stewart and he said, "Man, I loved it, I loved it, I loved it."
That was, I mean, he's on the same network as us, so I think he had to say that. No, I mean, we actually saw him at intermission. And
really?
Because we had to go every night. We were in the previews stage, so we had to sit and watch our show like 50 times in a row every night, and so. And we knew he was there, and he knew sort of where we were at intermission, and he came back just gushing even then, and we're like, oh, it's cool that someone like John loved it that much, It proved that okay, but even just the audience in general, we don't get a lot of. We get to finish South Park in the middle of the night on an Avid and sort of put it out there and go to bed, and then we can sort of read on the internet what people thought about it. But having this experience where we can be there at the back of the house every night and hear the audience laugh is something we haven't gotten to experience very much. So it's pretty fun for us.
You two working together, has that changed?
Not really, not the way we work together.
No, not the way. I mean, it's always kind of different. It's like it's always kind of changed depending on what we're doing. And a lot of times, like Trey's the director. And sometimes it's, a producer-director relationship. A lot of times it's just a writing team relationship. Right. Sometimes we're going on Charlie Rose, and it's just two friends going on Charlie Rose.
Exactly.
Honestly, that's the truth. So it changes kind of depending on the situation. But I think it's good. We come from our first thing we did was independent film. In an independent film, you just do it. You just get the camera. Somebody picked up the camera, and somebody do that. And you do it first, and then you figure out what you call that later, and that's kind of always been our ethic. It's served us well.
How long have you had a relationship with Scott Rudin?
We've had a relationship with Scott Rudin since. Actually, it was great.
It
was actually no. It was funny. We did in college. We did a musical called Cannibal the Musical.
Yeah.
It was sort of just like a really a senior thesis film, and. He saw that. He was already kind of already a very big shot at Paramount, and he saw that little independent film and called us in. And we were sitting there in his office in Paramount, right out of college, just going, like, and he right away was like, "Hey, I want to work with you guys," and we're like, "Okay," So, and then we started working on something, and then we're like, "Well, we got this thing. We can do this TV show." And he's like, "Why would you ever want to do a TV show when you can do a movie?" So it was pretty funny.
So okay, we'll do a movie.
Yeah, he's like, a TV show will never be that big, and we're like, "Yeah, but it's this thing called South Park. It's just we're gonna do 6 episodes, and then we'll be done with that, and then we can do a movie."
Is he the person in your guys' professional life who will say, "This doesn't work. This is not funny"?
But that's all he says.
It's not funny.
That's all he says. That's what he says all the time. This is not funny. You can do better. You can do better. And he came along at a point in our life in the South Park movie where we really needed to hear that. We were like the new stars in town, and and he was like the one guy who's like, yeah, just anything you do is funny, and every executive tells you you're funny and you're great, and Scott's like, that's not good.
Yeah.
And wait, what?
But he's also the person just going, you can do better. And for me, he's always been, I really love NFL football, and so I always liken him to like Bill Parcells or that kind of football coach where he does kick our ass. He kicks our ass, and he doesn't let us be lazy. But at the end of it, after you've won the Super Bowl, you're like, "Thanks for kicking my ass." And so
he's also
like a tiger mom, is he?
Yeah, and he's a guy that it's always Trey and I and our producer Ann Garofino who does everything with us, and we kind of feel like when we bring something to him, he instantly visualizes it at the highest possible level, and that is something that's like comedy doesn't get that treatment in Hollywood. It's always ghettoized to like, okay. We'll get some funny stuff in there.
He
sees it as like we should make something great out of this, and go for it. And
he
that's
sees
great.
The potential of something that's good.
Yeah, that's actually a great piece of art instead of just like some fart jokes, which we think it can be both. We're those guys.
Can they really be art?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yes.
Yeah.
We made a lot of money off of them.
Yeah, indeed. So what are you dreaming about now? I mean, you've done the musical, you've done the movie, you've done the TV.
Well, I've been told other people are gunning for your job, but when you're ready to hang it up, I'd love to be the Charlie Rose show with Matt Stone.
He's been talking about that for a long
really
time.
have.
Have you really?
Yeah. It sounds like. I mean, this is.
And he
what a
will.
cool
He
thing
did
is.
say he
Would you
would
do it
keep
just the way I do it? Would you
and
do
yet-
it here at the
and-
table with a black
and it'll be
background?
the
You
Charlie
will?
Rose show
He'll
with
keep it the
Matt
Charlie
Stone.
Rose show.
A real tiny
starring
type.
Matt Stone.
The Charlie Rose. That will still be your show.
I'm ready to retire. Then. Let's
Let's
just
do it.
make it happen.
Switch
Let's do it.
table.
I'm
Switch
going to
seats.
Bali. I'm going to Bali. If I don't come back, it's you.
Charlie, welcome back to the Charlie Rose show, Charlie.
With Matt Stone.
How was your trip to Bali?
Oh man,
I'm Matt Stone.
Beaches. Just think beaches. This is great. Thank you for coming.
Cool. Thank you. It was always fun.